Family! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? This is my cousin Paul.
This is my cousin Liam.
And today we are actually going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be having a conversation about Quentin Tarantino's filmography. We've decided a little while ago that we wanted to have a conversation about this. I thank you, Paul, for coming here.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, this is actually something I wanted to talk to you before on camera, because we've had a few conversations about some of these films, and I thought it was time, to just talk about them. And hopefully, in another year or so, Tarantino will be releasing his 9th film.
I sure hope so.
If the 3-year rule still applies to everything. So, might as well do this. And I just want to stress right now, we're not going to be rating the films. We're not going to be saying, this is the best Tarantino movie. We'll say like our personal favorites, but we're not going to be criticizing them.
They're all good.
Yeah, exactly. But there's not really a bad film that we can find in this. That's the first thing we decided. We weren't going to like smack talk any of these movies. We're going to be pointing out a few things that we like about each of the films, a few things we're either not crazy about or that we think don't work, but we're not going to be saying after each talk, this is the rating that we give, we're just going to have a discussion mostly for this. And we're going to start, actually, with his first film, Reservoir Dogs. Now, before I start talking, because I will be talking a lot, I want to have Paul, I would love to hear a little bit about what you think about Reservoir Dogs, just as a film.
Dogs, in my opinion, it's his first and it's his best. It's my personal favorite of the Tarantino films. I think that the character development is fantastic. I love Mr. Orange. I think that the music just completes the film. There's that one chilling scene with the spoiler alert.
We're not gonna hold back on spoilers here. So if you're like, hey, I haven't seen any Tarantino films, but I really want to hear somebody talk. Get out of here. Go away. Get out. Anyway,
when Mr. Blonde tortures the one police officer, just how the music it just works. It's completely beautiful. I think that the plot's well done. It still has that dark humor, which Tarantino obviously loves, and it just works for me completely. I know that it's not your favorite one.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's where we kind of disagree a little bit.
And that's why I really like to start off with Reservoir Dogs, just when it comes to talking about it first, because it's the one that I think it's the dividing point for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the one where people say, this is the kind of Tarantino they like, and it's the one where I think you're right. It's the one that definitely, let's first state, it's a great film to come out of the gate with as a debut movie.
Perfect.
And it's such a great...
I think you said it. You said that you thought it was a great college film.
I still stand by that, yeah. When I first saw... I told you this. When I first saw the movie, I was sitting there... I was just in the same room. I was watching the screen, and I just said to myself, well, that was a really good college movie. Like, I found it was... If that was a college student presenting to me, A+. Give him an A+, send him out, you go do great things, go make some great movies, and he did. But I kind of said to myself, there's some things I had a problem with. And what you said, first of all, is the interrogation scene. Yeah. Fantastic scene. Yeah. I think the juxtaposition, I'm going to use English words. But the juxtaposition...
Sure going that one.
Oh, yeah. But the use of Stuck in the Middle with You, with the interrogation, with the way that Blonde approaches it. Like, he's kind of taunting him in the beginning. He's doing his little dance. The guy's screaming. He turns the camera away. It's a great use of everything. Cinematography, acting from Michael Madsen. Why do I... No, never mind. Michael Madsen. The police officer, I forget his name. But... and the very fact that it just kind of sucks you in. But not just that. The scene right after, where he's walking outside... and we were like, where is he going? And it's quiet, and he's outside, nobody's around. He goes in the trunk, and he pulls out the gas tank.
That's what I absolutely love about Tarantino, just his use of music, because we're just watching Jackie Brown, and they actually have the volume turning up and down the whole time. And if you leave the music's gone, and then when it gets closer to you, it gets louder. It's just a really nice touch.
He knows exactly when to have a lot of music and when not to, and he shows that with this film. And I think this is the problem that I have a little bit with Reservoir Dogs, in that there's some great scenes, like I just said, with the interrogation scene. I'm just going to stay on the good stuff. Mr. Orange's entire sequence, when we see that Mr. Orange is the police officer, and we find out that how he got involved in the syndicate.
Yeah.
Or involved in the group, and the whole idea of the commode story.
I love
That
that story.
scene, that is a story that takes on a lot of elements to great filmmaking. It shows him rehearsing it, him perfecting it, him using it in the situation, and then it shows the story come to life.
Yeah.
And to the point where it's just so believable and so organic.
Oh,
that it's
fantastic.
It's an amazing way to visually tell a story and use dialogue, and I really like that scene for not just character development, but it's not really character development, it's a false character development, which is such a cool thing.
It's a twist.
My big problem, though, not with that story, but it's later on in the end of the film. Joe, like, it's a shorter film. It's his shortest film that he's ever made, I think, next to Death Proof. And the problem that I have is Joe immediately, he comes in, and he's just like, this guy's the cop. And it's just like, well, how did he figure that out? Like, I kind of get, like, earlier, it's like, when the three criminals, it's Pink, White, and Joe's son. Forget his name.
Just go with Joe's son.
Joe's son, Eddie. I think it's, something Eddie. Nice guy, Eddie.
Nice,
And so they come in, and then it's like, the cop, he tortured the cop.
Yeah.
He explains himself, and he just goes, this cop shoots him. And then Orange makes a story up about how Blonde was going to take the diamonds.
Yeah.
And then Eddie's like, he doesn't believe him
No.
because of another great scene where we see the development of Blonde's character, how they're friends, how he lies, and that's a little bit like, oh, crap, what's going on?
The reason I love Reservoir Dogs so much is it sets up Tarantino's pattern. It shows you how he does go full circle in every one of his little stories. Every little touch that he has matters.
Yeah.
And we see that again in Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, even Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Just all these little stories that happen, and they all matter, they all connect.
Yeah, and there's a reason for each moment. Like, we know White, when we see White's story, we know White is connected with Joe and their friends. We see Blonde is really close with them. And then all that comes together. My problem is just when Joe says that Orange is, he knows that Orange is a White, he just says, he wasn't the one I was 100% on. And I'm kind of like, what? Why would you add him then? I mean, you believe the story. At least that's what it kind of tells us. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say it's a misdirect, but at the same time, I'm just like, why would you put in this a plan that's so big and important? Why wouldn't you put someone that's 100%
see, coming from Joe's perspective, I'd say that he was 100% certain when he put them all in. But then as soon as something go wrong, he started double checking everyone and trying to fill in the blanks kind of thing. So then he
when it went wrong.
Yeah, when it went wrong, that's when he started
it's like why he's not around.
Yeah. So he's off in his underground mobster world, and he has to go double check everything, see if all these people's backstories actually match up, and then he's not 100% certain on Orange, and then he finds out what happened to Blonde, who happened to be his friend. So that's why he actually comes there, and that ends up shot.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's one of the, and when I first saw it, I was just kind of like, how did he know? And that can make sense with that. I do like the characters in this film. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that was really bad in the ending. The one thing is what you said with Tarantino with music. I think he has one slip up with music.
You don't like the line with the coconut.
I hate that song at the end. Not in terms of representation, not in terms of what it means, but in terms of just tonal shift. Like, it's kind of, like, also...
Oh, and just switched from something very heavy, a very dark scene, and then all of a sudden it's lighting the coconut.
Yeah. I can get that with the whole heaviness of it. My also problem with that, though, is, like, it comes from a moment of just, like, pure empty realization from White. Like, he put so much trust in Orange, and then it's like Orange tells him, I'm kind of like, I don't want to listen to a song that's all about drinks and kind of feeling okay. And then
it was still going with the whole radio station, because the radio never really matches what's happening in life.
Well, yeah, I get that. It's just, it's one of those things where I just kind of say, I mean, it opens with the song that's, like, perfect for this song, for the A Little Green Bag, and I'm just like, it's perfect, but it's one of those things where I can't find a way to defend it. I can't say to myself, I can understand it. It's one of those things, and it left me with that feeling of, it had some problems with it. If an ending ends on a high note, I can look past some problems.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I don't know.
You didn't really like how everyone died either, right? That was.
Well,
Are you better with that one now, or?
no, it wasn't that everyone died. It was the fact that, like, I mean, I've never had a problem with all the characters dying in a film before.
Yeah.
But I think it was more along the lines of, the biggest problem I think I had was with certain characters dying. It's kind of like my thing with most films is rewatchability. When I watch a film, because I've watched Reservoir Dogs like 5 times. Yeah. It's like around the third or fourth highest viewed movie I've seen of his. Yeah. So there's something that gets me back to it. But the problem that I have with it is the number of times I watch it, I can just easily just do this. This character is unnecessary. And when I say that, Mr. Brown is unnecessary. Yeah. Mr. Blue is unnecessary. Except for that first watching. You're like, ooh, what do these guys have to do with the story? And once you realize they have really nothing except Brown crashes a car that they had, and for that whole Madonna speech, which I'm not a huge fan of. I know that...
I like the Madonna speech,
yeah. But here's the thing, and I'm gonna... Oh, people, if anybody's like kind of hanging on and just be like, what? You hated the Madonna speech? Like, oh, jeez. But Mr. Blue contributes nothing except saying that the waitress was nice. And making you think, oh, blue cops?
Well, did you see the cigar he had? That was a nice cigar. No,
cigar man right over here. Okay. But then there was like that whole thing with, it's just, there's...
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. No, yeah. I brought up this can of worms now, the Madonna speech. Yeah. This is actually the biggest problem I have with it. It's not the fact that characters die, it's the fact that characters die and you don't know too much about them. I mean,
you don't know a whole lot about Brown. Or Blue. The one thing that I think Tarantino could have expanded on was the whole when they're getting their different names. He could have drawn out a bit more about Mr.
He could have made it funny at first. Like Brown is like, it sounds like Mr. Shit. I don't want to be Mr. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna bleep that out now. It's a family show. He says.
He could have played it out.
And you know what? Kids don't watch this. I'll put a warning into it. It's for kids not to see this. But no, he calls himself Mr. Shit. And I say to myself, that could have been a great... It's funny. And then Mr. Pink is just like, why am I Mr. Pink? It's like, because you're a faggot, all right? And I'm just like, that's funny.
That is funny.
But at the same time, I think to myself, you could have done that made it funny, and then you could have had that character development where Brown kind of feels like an outcast or something like that. He wants to prove himself or something like that. Or like he's nervous at this whole thing. I don't know.
With it, think of the ad that Tarantino put on it, which is the perfect crime, because nobody knows each other. Yeah. So a few of them have to go unknown because, again, none of these characters actually know each other. They're not allowed to talk about their pasts. They're just there to get the job done, which ends up not happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where...
get it. It kind of annoys me too, but for me, I just look past it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you can look past it, that's more power to you.
It makes it much more enjoyable.
I do say this though, with the Madonna speech, and like just because I really need to address this right now before people get too mad. The Madonna speech, I'm not crazy about. After the 4th time I saw, I loved it when I first saw it. Okay. But I don't like it for 2 reasons, and I'll get into this with another film that I'll just mention after this. But it doesn't really build too much on his character, except when you think of, like, when someone gets really, like, reading too deep into it. It's like, the Madonna speech is a representation of how he's not respectable to women. And it's like, well, yeah, you can mention that, but we don't see it, so we can't really establish that that's a character thing. It's like, it's kind of like me saying
if anything, the song... You could say that about the song, not about what he thinks about the song.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, but what I do love right after is Pink's whole speech about tipping.
I live by that rule.
Man. Yeah.
He converted me.
Yeah, he converted you to, and that's how good it is, because it's an actual character moment. It's a moment where you understand where he's coming from, not just in a restaurant, but in life as well. Yeah. And that is something that I find interesting. It's why I think Pink is my favorite character of the bunch.
I agree. Pink is my favorite as well.
And the only other flaw I'll say this, and this is just a nitpick, it's some of the dialogue, like when they're talking about the rat, like when they're discussing it. Okay. A little repetitive, and it seems like a little bit like where I say college film, like there's some kind of, he doesn't exactly know how to direct them to act. In some places, and the way they act is kind of just a little stiff, but that's just a nitpick in me as an actor, so I just say,
I think that should bring us on to the next film.
Well,
which is...
the very quick,
okay.
actually, we got a dog now, so we just got to watch out. Make sure the drinks are not on the floor. There's Maggie, everybody. She's going to make a quick cameo into this thing if you can see her. She's adorable. If you can't see her, she's just as adorable. There you go.
There we go.
The quick one I wanted to quickly mention is, True Romance. You have not seen True Romance.
I have not.
This is why I wanted to say it. He wrote it. He did not direct it. The only reason I want to bring it up is this is why I also think I don't consider Reservoir Dogs his best, and why I'm glad I see that it's not, because when I watch True Romance, I see a movie where it's kind of like somebody saw a Tarantino movie and said, "Oh, I know how to do this," and they add great music. They have interesting side characters. They have kind of good things in it, and they kind of have that same kind of cool factor. But the problem is there's so many missed opportunities in the story itself, and I found it was just, it's one of those movies where I think it's something that I think he needed. I'm glad he made it, because it's one of those things that it didn't do well critically, and it was one of those things where I think it needed to be done so he could kind of look and take a step back and say, okay, let's see what worked for the first one and what didn't work with True Romance, and let's fix it and make